Finally, I can escape! Oh, hell no! Hi, welcome to Film Stash. My name is Douglas Campbell. If you couldn't tell by the intro, we are still deep into the spooky season. And with the release of Black Phone 2 approaching us at the time of this recording, I figured let's just dive back to 2021 and check out the original Black Phone. Plus, I mean, it's sitting on my DVD shelf here. I haven't checked it out since I got it, and I figure, you know what? This is a good excuse to finally check it out. Black Phone was based on a 2004 short story written by Joe Hill. That's Stephen King's son. And to expand the story into feature-length territory, Hill added several elements to beef up the story, including giving Finney a sister who's psychic, but only in her dreams. That addition alone is very Stephen King-y. I mean, you have so many stories of his where it's like, here's a kid who has a psychic ability. The Grabber's Mask was created by horror special effects icon Tom Savini, whose work has spanned from Friday the 13th, Creepshow, and the latter half of the George Romero Dead trilogy. According to Ethan Hawke during an interview with Dead Meat, one of my favorite YouTube channels, his performance of the Grabber was played like a wounded animal. But I've also read other places that he sorta honed within his performance the physicality of Freddy Krueger. And additionally within the film, director Scott Derrickson, he took elements from his hometown growing up in Denver, Colorado, and inserted them into the setting here. Alright, and that about wraps up the quick facts I found about the film. Let's dive right into my thoughts on it. But before we get to that, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Any help that you could give my channel, I would greatly appreciate. And if you're already subscribed to me, thank you so much. Like, overall with this film, I think it is just okay. I mean, it's not bad. I like quite a lot of things about it, but if there's one thing that I think this film does really well, it's the tenseness and the creepy atmosphere. This is a good film to put on around Halloween that has come out within the last couple of years. And I think part of what creates this creepy atmosphere is utilizing the look of the 1970s. I mean, not everything looks entirely 1970s, but I think the attention to detail really added to the atmosphere. And even like diving into our villain here, I think Ethan Hawke's performance is like the best performance of the film. Like, hands down. Like what I've discussed earlier, how he based his physicality on Freddy Krueger, I definitely could see that. He's very expressive with his hands, which is very creepy. Honestly, anytime it got to him and Finney, the movie got tense. Like, it got so tense. And I think the most tense that I got with this film, it was whenever Finney tried escaping the house for the first time. You know, not to spoil too much on a 4-year-old movie. But essentially playing a game of Don't Wake Dad with like a really buff Ethan Hawke, it got me tense. It did a good job. But outside of Ethan Hawke's acting, I think that the limited cast, the fact that a lot of them were children, I think they did a really great job. Mason Thame was a good protagonist to follow, and he had a pretty solid coming-of-age arc. Even Madeline McCraw as his sister, like Gwen, she did a great job of the movie too. I had some issues with what they did with their character, but like, everyone in this film, I think did a pretty solid job overall. Whenever you do see the climax play out, like, holy shit. Like, it was good. It ended on a really high note, and that was great. Diving into the mixed, and this mixed here that I'm about to say, it is like my only real big gripe with the film. It wasn't big enough to put into the negatives, but I figured it was appropriate to talk about here. This film, its general core concept, it's a grounded thriller, really. I feel like if you're gonna put a supernatural element in, you can only put in one. The idea that they had where this kid is getting advice from previously slain children to escape, like, that's really cool. That should have been the only paranormal element of the film. What they end up doing, it kind of muddies the water a little bit, because Finney's sister Gwen, who has these like psychic abilities only in her dreams, they hardly contribute to the plot. They contribute to her own coming-of-age story, which I thought was pretty cool. But in the grander scheme of things, all she does is eventually lead the cops to the house of the serial killer. But I feel like if you really wrote it a little bit better, you probably could have had the same result done, but Finney gets the cops to the house. And it's a shame that I'm saying that because I liked McGraw's performance. Like, it was a good child performance. Plus, you got like a really funny moment here where she's like praying to Jesus.
Jesus, what the fuck?
And this was just an element that I thought was weird about it. Besides having the kids who are calling from beyond the grave, besides having the psychic dream girl, the cops are just actively working with the dream girl. Like, they know she has these special abilities, and they're relying on this little girl to help them solve cases. Like, that shit's weird. Like, to me, I just could not buy into that. And that was like at the very beginning of the film, because it's like, we hardly know who these characters are yet, and you're throwing us into that, and it's like, what? So then finding out that Joe Hill added the psychic sister, and most likely the short story was just the phone calls, that made sense to me. The phone calls were enough. That was creepy enough. It was cool enough. That really should have been all it was. And diving into the negatives. Now, if the mix was something that I think probably should have been removed, this negative here definitely should have been removed. In the middle of all that, you have the grabber's obnoxious brother who's kind of following the case. He has like the Charlie Kelly conspiracy board behind him. Like, this could be a funny character, but ultimately, like, the couple of times he appears, he does nothing. Which, again, I get is the point. He's the oblivious brother. I just feel like if you're going to remove something, that's the thing you remove at the very least if you're not going to use it. While it was funny and he didn't drag the story down, it was just an element that could have been removed altogether. In the end, I am glad that I finally checked this film out. And I think this was one of the better Blumhouse films that I have seen up to this point, other than the Halloween trilogy. I am just so curious what they're gonna do for a sequel. Spoiler for this film, the grabber is like super dead, hella dead. So I don't know what you're gonna do with that. I'm curious, like, I would check it out. I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. That's all the time we have for today here on Film Stash. My name is Douglas Campbell, and if you excuse me, I'm gonna add to the stash.